My name is Siddharth, and I represent a company called Dowcentric. Now, and yeah, it's an honor to be in this August gathering of analytic leaders from all over the country. So before I talk to you about my company and its wherewithals, I'd like to tell you a story. A fishy story, rather. So somewhere on the eastern seaboard, there's this fisherman who's about to cast his net in the hope of netting mackerels. It's the onset of mackerel season, it's mid-May, and he hopes that he'll net a huge catch. He's been getting feelers from his dealers about a huge demand coming from markets in the west coast of India, so to speak. Now, with high hopes, he casts his net. See what happens. And lo behold, what he ends up netting is all manners of creepy crawlies. Not only are these vermins, creating mess, but they're also chewing down his net. And the net is very costly. Poor guy, he spent a whole lot of money, borrowed a whole lot of money in trying to make his boat seaworthy for the fishing season. And he also invested money in a gill net, which is a net specific to mackerel fishing. And what he ends up is netting these creepy crawlies. Okay. So, what happens next? What does he do? Had he known that this crabs would come so early in the season, he could have possibly invested in a different kind of net and maybe sold these crabs at some profit and paid off his debts. But that was not to be. So what could have gone wrong? How can we prevent these kind of tragedies? On that note, I'd let you simmer on this story for some time, and we'll come back to it. So, now let me introduce my company. Rather than me talking about or waxing eloquent about my company and its achievements, I'd let this video speak for us. Audio, please. That's Dow-centric for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now something a bit more about the way we work. So as you can see, there are a whole lot of buzzwords out there. I wish I could have peppered the slide with more buzzwords, but then the real estate would look cluttered. So design thinking, IoT, RPA, demand sensing, computer vision, S&OP. And if you could probably gather that we are a company focused on supply chain, anything and everything to do with supply chain. So having said all of this, the underpinning theme for us is this: creativity. We are a creative bunch of people who come from diverse experiences across industries, and we believe creativity is our essence. So whatever we do, there's inherent creativity in it. And we believe analytics, data science, or machine learning, or whatever you call it, is not the sole preserve of the nerdy bunch. We believe, as much as we believe that, coding skills, modeling skills, data skills are important, but so is being a raconteur. That's where storytelling comes in. Your models don't do the talk. It's you who make the models talk, and talk sense most of the time. So after all, model is a useful piece of fiction. Some models are good, other models are crappy. So I would even say that, creativity is our raison d'etre. Please pardon my French. Okay. Something more about the way we work. So real world business problems to us equates to supply chain, everything to do about the supply chain. And the way we work, we engage. Too often, our requesters are higher ups in old economic companies who are under pressure to go digital. So our engagement begins on a very, very nebulous note, and it's for us to figure out how to take them forward on the digital pathway. So we engage, and once we engage, we also ideate. There's a whole team that sits around. The markers go dry. We ideate, and by the time we reach the second meeting, we already have built a prototype. Using assumptions, counter assumptions, we build a prototype. And by the third meeting, we're already on a build phase, and then we're ready to implement. So this is our typical journey. And as I said, the supply chain, digitalization of supply chain is no longer a holy grail for most organizations. But responsiveness, agility, and speed of execution is definitely an opportunity area. Definitely. And that's been our experience. And crux of analytics works, or AI and ML interventions, are happening in these chosen areas, supply chain. So, and then now we have cloud, we have data, we build models, we are empowered by RPA, heady concoction, a recipe for success. So most of the values that is generated through these add-ons of agility, responsiveness, and speed of execution and if you couple that with improved views, or so should I say integrated views from the marketplace, it's a recipe for success. It gives you competitive advantage. And that's been our experience when we engage with the higher-ups in our client organizations. Okay. We are creative thinkers. Be hungry, be creative is our mottos. Sorry, Rashmi Bansal, wherever you are. But we don't encourage foolishness. Being hungry is fine. Hunger creates creativity, stokes creativity, and both of them drive each other. So that's our motto. Our Hall of Fame moments. Coming back to the fishy story. Had this fisherman known that the crab season would have onset so early, perhaps he would have better prepared. He would have spent his money in buying a different kind of net, sign net. But now that all that is gone, so who suffers? Of course, the fisherman does. But along with it, there are a whole lot of other people in the value chain who suffer. So what could have gone wrong? A whole lot of economic indicators, fish stock sustainability index, GDP per capita, market demand, blah, blah, blah. And then there are black swan events, El Nino, spawning season imbalances, unseasonal shift of currents. Then the water conditions, diseases and pathogens in the seawater, water temperature. All of this form a very kind of heady concoction, and they can create a mess with the fishing season. So the fisherman is not the only one who is impacted. There's the fish net manufacturer. He suffers, he also suffers. So if you look at this chart, there are a whole lot of seasonal demands with regard to fish nets. There's trawl net, seine net, and there's some in this, and they're these are interspersed with spawning season of different species of fish. And as much as he would like to plan better, he always ends up with a hockey stick quarter. Now, hockey stick is something to aspire for, but in this business, it means life and death. It means death mostly. Okay. So at the beginning of the quarter, your sales rises slowly, but then Mother Nature plays truant, and everything goes for a toss, and he ends up discounting and pushing his, in a way to push his inventory. So what happens? Losses, severe stress in accounting and collections, inventory pile up, scheduling mismatch, and legal wrangles. Believe you me, legal wrangles. So if you're in a season, if you during an unseasonal time, if you net an unseasonal fish and screw with the spawning season, it calls for penalties. And if there's nets, so there are legal wrangles not just from the Ministry of Environment, but also from the fishermen's community. Okay. He's up against all of that. So how he wished he could preempt and prepare for the unseasonal changes. How does he do that? So how could machine learning rescue both? Get data. So their data from all data comes in all shapes and sizes, creepy crawlies, there's maritime data, there's data from economic indices, and there's the data that you create, your quest for solutioning, all of that. So, here's the solution. Demand sensing. Now, demands, in your supply chain, if you get your demand and supply side forecasts right, then it gives you competitive advantage. But demand sensing, if you get a demand sensing right, then it could lead to about 30 to 40% cut in inventory, and about 7 to 10% augmentation in your fill rate. That important. So what will the traditional approaches work? Traditional forecasting approaches? If you look at this ensemble, Bayes ensemble, we have vector autoregression, Bayesian structural time series model, Prophet, which is proprietary to Facebook. All of this, working on the ground truth and giving you residuals. The residuals are high on error. They cannot immediately, tag on to the immediate realities in the ecosystem. They have a problem with modeling long-term dependencies and the short-term fluctuations. So what do they do? What do we do? So these residuals get pushed into an RNN, LSTM to be specific. What you get is predicted residuals, and all the residuals from this Bayes ensemble moving into RNN with a whole lot of variables, immediate predictors, the non-linearities, and we get an ensemble forecast. So what you see here is an ensemble of ensemble, or hybrid of hybrids. So hybrids by their very nature are robust, they are more mutable, they are more evolving, and they can adapt faster than the traditional classical time series approaches or classical machine learning approaches. So what you have is an ensemble forecast, and once we combine the ensemble forecast with the Bayes ensemble forecast, what you get is final forecast, and you look at the accuracy you are impacting from 54% from just this Bayes ensemble to 73%. And every percentage hike is a cause for celebration for both the company, the fish net manufacturer, as well as the fisherman. So there comes the final forecast. So we've been able to achieve that jump in accuracy. All of it coming, while this is a very involved scientific process, but I'd still say it's a creative process. It's creative, but not just the data scientist, the nerdy bunch plays its part, but more than that, the storytellers, the raconteurs, they play an even bigger part, I would say, because you can't make these things amenable to a customer, or the customer who is just starting his analytics journey. Maybe this would make sense to an evolved customer who's trained in data sciences, who has also evolved perhaps he has a PhD in some aspect of analytics or machine learning, but making this entire thing talk to a next door, to a guy next door, or to an ordinary Joe, is no mean feat. So this is one aspect of demand sensing, and the business being fishing net business. Let me take you through another case. That was on the demand side. This is a supply side. So what you have here is, and this project was executed for a global CPG major with operations in China, and they wanted to look at kind of fine tune their production planning by every week incorporating the new set of realities. It's not that the homegrown systems don't give you forecasts, like you saw in the previous case. Forecasts get generated, but they have to be tinkered again until such time you get a forecast which is more amenable to the current realities. It's on a similar note. What you see here is essentially a couple of modeling loops. On one hand, we have a historical plan which is coming, and from those plans we extract, and with features extracted from the same, there's a model that is extracting probabilities of whether SKUs, a bunch of SKUs, will have a plan number or not in the forthcoming weeks. And while that is happening, there's a scroller code which is going ahead and chopping off the SKUs where the probabilities are on the lower side. And while this is happening, there's another modeling loop running in tandem, which uses an endogenous recursive computations to come up with inventory plan, to plan, and with close and plan as the covariates. So that's not the end of it. The plan goes into a heuristics loop thereafter, and this is as complicated as it could get. So there are a whole lot of constraints that a planner is up against. For instance, he cannot reach the production capacity in a week. He has to maintain the target cover for each SKU. And given that their new realities emanating from the marketplace, from the ecosystem, he has to be mindful of that. And he cannot take an override as and when he wants it. He has to keep everything in balance. Now, if you were to put this problem into a, let's say, make it into an optimization problem using mixed integer linear programming, chances are that that algorithm will fail. So this machine learning plus heuristical thinking leads to a 13-week production plan. And so far, we have achieved about 95% accuracy in plan by SKUs. That's no mean achievement. And as far as our knowledge goes, this kind of work is unprecedented. You'll not hear of, these problems typically are in close, inventory plan, closed last week, and when we're putting them. These are typically deterministic problems. But the fact that someone could conceive of this as a machine learning problem is, I would say, unheard of. So there are monthly overrides. For instance, if the forecast is, let's say, lesser than the MOQ, minimum order quantity for that week, then the planner has to manually scroll through, the next 3 weeks of production, and then we bunch it in 1 week. And this could lead to, the whole things getting screwed up. There could be inventory pile over, there could be excess production, and there would be losses. So with this system in place, now we are generating 13-week production plan and to devastating accuracy. So that's one of our achievements, our Hall of Fame moments. Okay, here's another case of demand sensing for a different category, the category being skincare. Now, skincare is seasonal, but sometimes when the seasonal patterns kind of withdraw early and onset early, it leads to severe impact on sales. How do we tackle all that? So we have historical sales which show wide swings. Now these are because they show very wide swings, they are difficult to model. What you do is you end up detrending them, pushing them through a Fourier transformation loop. And what you get is frequencies. Frequencies are much more manageable. And then on the other side, there are a whole lot of non-linearities out there, point of sales, open orders. These are variables that get created on the fly. And no model on earth can incorporate all these short-term things, short-term dependencies. So modern techniques such as recurrent neural networks on their own will not suffice. And old methods, Fourier transformation is about 300 years old. Old methods are here to stay. There's no getting rid of them. Okay? So, but if you combine the two, if you hybrid the two, then what you have is, your accuracy improvement, you improve time to market, and, essentially utilizing the window of opportunity, which is as short as it can be. So then, from a base accuracy of 59%, the accuracy goes up to 72%, and we are able to bake in the effects of black swan events, erroneous changes in economic indicators, and a whole lot of environmental factors. I mean, El Nino included. Now, here's another aspect of supply chain. I mean, how important the supply chain function is, and this is a view from the marketplace. So what you see here is essentially operations involving Alcobev major with global footprints. So they have a whole lot of outlet category data. They have outlet characteristics. There's retail audit, and there's a whole lot of data that comes from third parties, syndicated sources, so to speak. And the net impact to be made is to find the right outlets for the right brand, for the right pack, and the right retailer. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is not just a marketing and sales problem, it's a supply chain problem. And we've used algorithms, set-piece algorithms, to solve this problem. So here's the whole framework in operation. We have transaction data, outlet characteristics, demographics, all getting mishmashed, coming to, getting into a supervised learning loop. You're getting segments real time, segments get profiled real time, they get profiled with a whole lot of, syndicated data, RFMRT, RFMRT is not syndicated, of course, it's RFM, recency frequency, monetary value, range and tenure, then QDVP3, all kinds of audits. Segments get profiled, but now you want to deep dive into those segments. Outlet prioritization, if the outlets are on the upper side of the regression line, they are priority outlets. If they're on the left side of the regression line, on the top quadrant, left quadrant, they are the focus segments, because given their X value, they're driving a higher value of Y. And then you have this calibration, store calibration happening in real time, and this algorithm runs non-stop. So a store which is a platinum performer in one season may become a bronze the next season or the next quarter. We also work on computer vision cases. So there's one such case, and where stock taking happening in an unmanned warehouse. There's packaging material and fixed goods in different pallets. The camera collects high resolution images, but crux of problems that we solve in computer vision has to do with removal of fuzziness from the images, and this is no different. So we have our algorithms in place, and this thing has gone live even as we talk, and list keeps growing, and so do we. Thank you.